Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, a Democrat has declared his candidacy for the Commissioner of Agriculture race in Mississippi.
In Southern Gardening, visit your local garden center to find plants to warm you up early.
In the markets, the size of the corn crop becomes more important as the chicken industry anxiously awaits a seasonal rise in bird prices.
In the feature segment, just when you thought you'd heard it all, what about milking robots? There are robots now that milk cows. Before you cry factory farming, it may actually cause less stress on the cows and the dairy farmer. For example, the dairyman doesn't have to worry every day if his milking help is going to show up.
I mean, we're small enough that, we only had one hired hand. So if he doesn't show up, it's not like your other hired hands can pick up his slack because we only had one. That stress level is totally eliminated, and you can't really put a price on that.
Good day, everyone. I'm Amy Taylor.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Welcome to Farm Week. Artist Ford is on assignment.
The slate of candidates is set for the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce in Mississippi.
Amy, the last candidate met the March 1st qualifying date on Monday. He is a past Democratic congressional candidate and the present mayor of Pickens. Farm Week's Artist Ford brings us up to date on the Mississippi Ag Commissioner's race.
The field is now set for the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce race in Mississippi. The last candidate to qualify was Democrat Joel Gill of Pickens in central Mississippi. Gill is unopposed for the Democratic Party nomination. This means he will appear on the general election ballot November 8th, running against one of three candidates vying for the Republican nomination. There are no independent candidates. Gill is a two-time alderman and the present mayor of the town of Pickens. He ran twice as a Democratic nominee in Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District, losing to Republican Greg Harper in 2008 and 2010. Gill is co-owner of the Mississippi Order Buyers, a cattle buying business started by his father in 1964. Gill is involved nationally in the beef business. He is the vice president of the board of RCAF, the Ranchers Cattlemen Action Legal Fund. He is the president of the Mississippi Livestock Markets Association. He has served on the Mississippi Beef Council for more than 19 years. Gill says he will work for vigorous enforcement of COOL, country of origin labeling. Concerning animal identification, Gill said it should be reasonable and low cost. November 8th, Gill will face one of three candidates running for the Republican nomination for Commissioner of Agriculture. The Republican primary will take place Tuesday, August 2nd. The candidates are Cattleman Max Phillips of Taylorsville. Phillips was the 2003 Republican nominee for Ag Commissioner. He lost the 2007 Republican primary to incumbent Lester Spell. Phillips is a retired high school vocational agriculture teacher. He has also worked in agricultural lending with the Production Credit Association and Trustmark Bank. State Representative Danny Reed of Ackerman is another of the Republican candidates. Reed is a two-term representative serving on the State House Ag Committee. Reed was also a longtime employee of the Mississippi State University Extension Service, serving as an ag engineer and a county agent. GOP candidate Cindy Hyde-Smith of Brookhaven is in her 12th year in the Mississippi Senate, where she serves as chairman of the Agriculture Committee. Hyde-Smith's website lists her occupations as cattle farmer and a congressional affairs consultant. Hyde-Smith switched her party affiliation from Democrat to Republican in December. For Farm Week, I'm Artist Ford reporting.
The Obama administration continues its push to expand U.S. agricultural exports despite forecasts of tight supplies of major commodities. Agriculture is presently a bright spot in America's deficit-riddled trade picture. U.S. ag exports are expected to high a record this year. Mark Pearson reports the country is selling more agricultural products abroad than it's buying. Mark Pearson reports.
USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack appeared in front of the House Ag Committee to field questions regarding the strength of the farm economy.
Are you concerned about price stability in the commodities?
One of the things that is driving the current increases in prices is the growing global demand. Recent data tells us that U.S. farm exports reached an all-time high in calendar year 2010. That, combined with our efforts and others to try to increase agricultural productivity, not just in the United States, but globally, should help us encourage greater stability in the market.
According to the Agriculture Department, U.S. ag exports are expected to reach a record $135.5 billion in fiscal 2011. The 2011 figure would eclipse 2008's previous record by $20 billion.
Trade numbers just published show that for calendar year 2010, China was our #1 export market, edging out Canada and accounting for a little over 15% of exports.
Government bean counters argue high export levels support other sectors of the economy. According to USDA, every $1 billion in agricultural exports generates $1.4 billion in economic activity and supports 8,000 jobs. Within the reports, agricultural trade surplus figures also reached record levels at $47.5 billion. But experts warn the economic factors of 2008, such as high input costs, may drag down sectors of the farm economy.
Expenses are also increasing, especially prices of farm origin inputs like livestock and feed, the price of energy, and operating costs.
Doesn't the sight of beautiful flowers brighten a dreary day? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us how visiting your local garden center can give you an early glimpse of spring.
Man, is it nasty outside, but the sight of flowering plants really warms me up. Today I'm at Frazier's Nursery, where I'm enjoying the colorful plants they have overwintering in their greenhouse. Red is one of my favorite flower colors. It's warm and vibrant and calls out for attention. One of the very best garden performers is Lady in Red Salvia. The displays of brilliant red flowers are contrasted with the dark purple sepals and stems. Lady in Red blooms all summer until frost. The plant structure is not densely packed, but has a loose, airy appearance. The floral display makes this one of the very best for hummingbirds. No wonder it's also called hummingbird sage. Red Star Cordyline has a different look with its dagger-like rusty bronze red foliage. These upright plants bring excitement wherever they are grown. Red Star Cordyline works well in combination planters. This one, planted with bouquet rose dianthus, is looking pretty good after several nights in the low 20s. Nutmeg scented geranium combines attractive flowers with heavenly scented foliage. The flower petals have purple splotches that look like an artist's brushstrokes. They are held high above the fragrant foliage, resembling thin, wispy white clouds. Nutmeg scented geranium is an annual in North Mississippi, but will overwinter reliably on the coast. So when the winter weather's dreary, go to your local garden center for some cheering up. It'll inspire you with the hope of the coming spring. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says find new inspiration this spring at your local garden center. In our feature segment today, robots that milk cows. It sounds crazy, but it may be better for all concerned, including the cows and the dairymen. And time now for the markets with Leighton. And a tight supply of cattle is helping support beef prices.
That's right, Amy. That's a story that's going on. Consumer demand still being closely watched as far as the beef sector by the traders. Also ahead as we look at the markets this week. Ethanol production sets a new record in 2010. A new rice mill is announced for the region, while some chicken processors are now said to be losing money. It was announced this week that 2010 was a record year for U.S. ethanol production. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says that total production for the calendar year was over 13 billion gallons, compared to just under 11 billion gallons in 2009. The U.S. ethanol export figure also set a record in 2010, topping 397 million gallons. The increased usage of corn for ethanol production is one of the reasons that grain has the tightest set of fundamentals of any row crop right now. Analyst John Roach says he thinks the availability of corn may become more interesting as we get to the end of the season.
I mean, you have to look at corn in one of two ways. Either we have enough to get through to the new crop, or we don't have enough to get through to the new crop. If we don't have enough to get through, and even if we do, it's possibly located in the wrong spot. When you get down to very tight supplies, down to maybe a 3-week inventory, the corn seems to be in the wrong place. So you have to pay money to get it to move to a different location. We also have a problem with the hedging on corn, where you have a huge discount as soon as you go past the July contract. When you move into the following months, you start having a discounted futures market, which takes away hedging opportunities. So a lot of the elevators are going to have most all their corn gone before they get finished with the July futures contract, because they just have no way really to hedge it. There's too much risk involved. So as we get down to the end, we're going to find out whether we do have enough, whether it's located in the right location, whether the ethanol companies, processors can get their hands on the corn. If they can't, they just have to slow down their production or maybe even stop production. In which case, if you do that, then we have enough to go around. So that jury's still out on that.
A new rice mill has been announced for the Louisiana Delta just across the Mississippi River from Sharkey County. Located near Marouge in Morehouse Parish, the $10 million mill will initially employ 20 to 25 workers and operate on 2 shifts. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal says the project is a good example of adding value to commodities produced in the region. Well, looking at the first trivia quiz for the month of March, it deals with a little history. Here's the question: where was Mississippi's first county agriculture agent hired? Your choices are Scott County, Monroe County, Sunflower County, or DeSoto County. I'll give you the answer right here shortly.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second half of the markets. Leighton Spann says Sanderson Farms of Laurel reports losses while there's been a correction in cattle prices. In the feature segment today, robots already build cars, but now there are robots that milk cows. The robots actually put less stress on the cows and the dairymen.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. One cause of these accidents is improper hitching. If a tractor is hitched at any point above the drawbar, it can flip over backwards. Never hitch a tractor using the bar between the 3-point hitch upper and lower links or at the top link attachment point. The stationary drawbar is the only safe location for tractor hitching. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The second annual High Tunnel Field Day will be held Thursday, March 10th. How to use high tunnels and how much they cost will be covered. 3 farmers will speak on their experiences. The registration fee is $25. The Field Day on Controlling Herbicide-Resistant Ryegrass will be held Thursday, March 10th. The location is the CAPS Center at the MSU Delta Research and Extension Center at Stoneville. Registration fee is free and it starts at 7:30 a.m. Please pre-register so they will know how many lunches to provide. We'll have a link on our Farm Week website. The 3rd annual New Albany Home and Garden Show takes place March 25th and 26th at the Union County Fairgrounds at New Albany. There's no admission fee. Vegetable gardening, organic gardening, yard art, vegetable cooking, and much more are on the agenda. And go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
Moving into the livestock markets, poultry producer Sanderson Farms of Laurel posted a hefty net loss in its fiscal first quarter, according to the website meetingplace.com. It's a situation about 3/4 of all chicken processors are dealing with now: higher feed costs and an oversupply of chicken driving down market prices. Chief Executive Joe Sanderson of Sanderson Farms says the industry is unlikely to cut production near term because the companies are expecting a seasonal rise in chicken prices. There was a bit of a price correction in the cattle sector as this week got underway. However, Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley told me late Tuesday morning the basic fundamentals of the beef market have not changed. John Michael, let's start with fed cattle. We've seen a little bit of a stumble in prices here to begin the month of March.
Yes, we have. Prices the past couple of days have moved probably more sharply than people would like, but moving down just a little bit. The big concern is these oil prices that we're seeing rise, very, very fast. We're concerned about what that's going to do to consumer demand. Consumers' budgets are really tight. They have been for a while, and we're really uncertain how, as we spend more money at the pump, how that's going to impact beef purchases, because we know that beef is a little bit more sensitive to price moves as opposed to some other goods in the grocery store.
But even though beef prices have come down some, we're still, as you've said before, at historically high levels, even though they're down some now.
That's right. We've hit some high levels the past last week, and so that's nothing to be worried about. So these lower prices, we've seen corn move down a little bit as well. Obviously, anytime you start seeing the market slip a little bit, you get a little nervous. But we are at really strong prices overall compared to compared to history.
And on the feeder cattle side, of course, you mentioned corn has come down some, but still the level of the corn prices of recent months, that's still kind of limiting some interest in feeders? It is.
Right before I came over, looked at break-even prices on feeding a calf out. 97 cents is where I got it figured at if you started a calf today. So we're bumping up on that dollar level. I was talking to some folks in the feedlots last week, and they were discussing $1.10, $1.10 for cost of gain on calves. So really high levels on cost of gain. Luckily, though, we have seen cattle prices move higher to kind of offset some of those higher feeding costs.
But again, the basic fundamentals of the market, when you talk about export demand, that hasn't really changed. Again, it's the socioeconomic factors from other parts of the world contributing to this.
A lot of concern over consumer demand, but yes, the market's still in a tight supply situation, which is kind of keeping these prices bolstered. But again, consumer demand is going to be one of those things that we watch very closely as we continue to move forward.
Well, we move forward here on Farm Week by giving you the answer to the trivia quiz now. And this week it is D. DeSoto County is the right pick. The state's first county agriculture agent, as it was called, was hired there by the Board of Supervisors in 1909.
Our feature story today is about something you never thought could happen: robots that milk cows. Before you declare factory farming at its worst, the robots relieve a lot of stress for both the cows and the dairy farm families. Andrew Batt of Market to Market explains.
Third-generation dairy farmer Doug Soar milks cows on the same farm his grandfather purchased in 1948. Soar took over the farm from his father 10 years ago and made a major change in how the dairy traditionally operated.
My grandpa, he turned 90 in February, and one day I was out cutting hay across the road, and I seen him pull in, and I thought, uh-oh, this ain't going to be good. Next thing you know, here my phone rings, he calls me, says, oh, we got a major problem, there's something going wrong.
2 years ago, Soar got rid of his hired help and purchased a robotic milker. His dairy herd of over 100 Holsteins now is milked 24/7 by a system that all but runs itself.
So I come running home here, and I said, what's the problem? Oh, never mind, it got it on. She's okay. I don't know if he must think that one of these days cows are just going to quit going through or something, but he gets awful worked up.
For thousands of years, dairy farming has been a labor-intensive, hands-on occupation. Numerous mechanical means of milking were developed 150 years ago, but it wasn't until 1923, with the invention of the surge milker, that any technological development was accepted with any success. With the surge milker, dairy farming became less hands-on. It remained, however, very labor-intensive.
It was a 365-day-a-year, 7-day-a-week, 2 to 3 time a day process that took a number of hours. And what Lely really saw was an opportunity to provide some labor savings.
Chad Heiser is the director of sales for Lely USA. Since first introducing robotic milkers in 1992, the Netherlands-based company has sold over 9,000 robotic milkers worldwide.
We're by far and away the world leader as far as the total number of units that are installed on a global basis. Again, being the pioneer of the technology and inventing it over 15, 16 years ago, we have a tremendous amount of experience. Certainly this technology doesn't eliminate all the labor, but best estimates, conservatively we say it's probably 50 to 60% of the manual labor involved in the dairy process.
The Sewers purchased a couple of robotic milkers from Lely 2 years ago when they were looking to upgrade their dairy. It took them nearly a month to train the cows to use the robot, or what is sometimes referred to as a voluntary milking system, or VMS.
The first 3 weeks of no sleep, that was a surprise. We knew that was coming, but saying it and then doing it is...
One of us was out here pretty much 24 hours a day. But within 3 weeks, probably 3/4 of the cows were walking through on their own.
Once trained, it's up to the cow to decide when it's milked. Sensors in the floor of the robot determine the position of the cow, and the udder is cleaned with brushes. Lasers then locate each teat, so suction cups can be attached. Once the milking is finished, another gate swings open, and the cow then exits the robot. The whole process is food-driven, with the cows receiving a feed concentrate while being milked.
Cow chow, yep. A real high energy, real sweet treat, you know, that's their candy. So they have their meat and potatoes out at the bunk, and then they get their candy bar once they go into the robot.
Problems they were having with labor was one reason the Sewers decided to go robotic. According to the Sewers, workers would show up late, or not at all, and at times would abuse the animals. In 6 years, they went through 12 different employees.
I mean, we're small enough that, you know, we only had one hired hand. So if he doesn't show up, it's not like your other hired hands can pick up his slack because we only had one. That stress level is totally eliminated, and you can't really put a price on that.
The Sewers say that the payments they make for the robots are equal to what they used to have to pay their hired help. Tina Sewer says she spends about an hour a day at the computer, where she monitors not only the quantity of milk each cow gives, but also the quality.
Yep, if she's starting to spike in her somatic cell or her conductivity, what it's called with the robots, on our kind of robots, it'll give you a flag, and you can actually go to the computer and it will tell you what the quarters are individually, so you can actually find which quarter is bad.
Since sensors in the robot measure each quarter of the udder, the robot will quit milking a quarter instead of continuing to milk a dry udder. According to Lely, cows milked by a robot remain productive longer and produce more milk. Norman Met is the veterinarian for the Sewers herd and was there for the transition to robotics. He believes the cows aren't much different than cows milked in a conventional parlor.
They're getting fed with TMR like cows down the road are. They're cleaned twice a day like we ordinarily would in a conventional herd. So I don't see a lot of differences. Maybe a little more relaxed, a little milder. They don't ever get chased, so they never get excited. That's a good thing for them.
While the robot has been good for the dairy, it has been a blessing for the Sewers. What was once a hands-on, labor-intensive way of life has changed enough with the addition of the robot to allow for a lot more family time. Whether it is being able to attend athletic events as a family or taking time for a water fight while getting ready to attend the county fair, the dairy no longer needs a person to operate 24/7. And it could be that a robot makes a difference in whether the next generation of Sewers will keep the dairy in the family.
Before we had a lot of chores to do, not a lot of free time to play and have water fights and all that fun stuff. And we were out late milking the cows because we didn't have the robotic milkers. We were out till sometimes 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Even if we had a boy, you know, it'd be hard to say whether they'd want to take over, but I think this will definitely help their decision. It'll make their decision a little bit easier.
For Market to Market, I'm Andrew Bott.
If you're interested in watching this story again, you can go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com. We'll also have links to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. We'll also have links to other information on using robot milkers. That's farmweek.msucares.com.
And Amy, who would ever believe that would happen?
I certainly never did.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. Our next show, Farm Week, is in its 33rd year on the air.
And a lot of things have changed on it and in agriculture during that time period. See what you can remember.
In Southern Gardening, we'll have a preview of the Jackson Garden and Patio Show. It will take place March 18th through the 20th at the Mississippi Trade Mart building at the Fairgrounds in Jackson. And if you would like further information on any of the Farm Week stories, or you simply want to suggest a story to us, here's how to get in touch with us. Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Again, Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number, 662-325-2262. And our email address is farmweek@ext.msstate.edu. And of course, you can also contact us through any Mississippi State University County Extension Service office.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Amy Taylor.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.